I've always said, every employee at a company should have to take money from a customer at some point.
Like just take money.
Take money.
Well, that's theft. That's theft. You can't do that. That would be illegal.
Go to their car if you have to. Just take their money. Find money and take it.
For all you out there, don't
payment,
take people's money
whatever.
unless they give it to you.
Everybody should have to
Willingly.
have to be in sales for some period of time. Engineers, customer service, operations, accounting should have to do it, because that's where the rubber meets the road, is actually getting a deal done, getting a signature, getting a check from a client. And you just cannot appreciate everything that's involved until you've been there on the front line doing it.
Welcome to the CEO Bros Podcast, After Hours, with Brian Baldoff, co-founded, grew, and sold VHT Studios. Brad Baldoff, CEO and co-founder of By Your Side Autism Therapy Services. Matt Croak, the consummate entertainer, jack of all trades, and serves as our host.
It's Friday. I'm
My
looking
favorite
for this.
day of the week.
Oh, favorite day
I
of
can't
the
click
week.
your glass today, but
What?
no, his.
Oh.
Hello.
All right. Sorry.
Hello.
Before we get
It's too far to
Before we
reach.
get started, by the way, how about a congratulations to Sarah Fragus, the
Yes.
last paycheck of a guest on the show, number one in her department. In the
Her
category.
book. Yeah,
Her book is
in,
number one
category.
in that category.
In web commerce.
Sarah Fragus, congratulations.
Yeah.
Girl. Way to go.
If you have not seen that episode, a matter of fact, hit that subscribe button. If you're new to this channel, hit the subscribe button. It's free. You see all our content. You see past videos. Check out the Sarah Fragus, now number one on Amazon Book. How about
I've
that?
been using the gua sha.
Gua sha, very well.
If you guys can
I
tell.
can tell
but
you're
yeah. Can you tell my
you're
skin is,
glowing.
like, better?
You're glowing. Are you?
Well, I can
pregnant?
tell your underarms look, but you're using the wrong place. It should be because I went. I think his arms look great. I think he's using it wrong. It's in the face.
Yeah.
I should have paid closer attention.
I just don't want to picture gouache on him. So let's just move on.
Let's move on to sales closing. And I don't know if we can have a side bet of when Glenn Ross is going to make a reference.
A, B, C.
A, B, C. A, always, B, B, C, closing. Always be closing. Always be closing.
Who am I? The clip will probably do it better than I.
Closing, yeah.
Talking-
The companion pieces Brian refers to it as.
Yes.
Is that what you refer to it as?
Well, we talked about building a
Our
pipeline.
cutaways.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Do more.
Yeah, do more. So sales closing.
Yeah, so we did sales funnel. So this is kind of both ends of the spectrum here. How do you build a funnel? How do you get prospects? How do you, get the process started? We're going to skip over the messy middle and get to the end, which is, okay, how do you get the money in your pocket? And, just a side note, I've always said, every employee at a company should have to take money from a customer at some point.
Like just take money.
Take money.
Well,
Out of their
that's
pocket, out
theft.
of their wallet.
That's theft. You can't do that. That would be illegal.
Go to their car if you have to. Just take
their money.
Find
No.
money and take it.
For all you out there, don't
Accepted
take
payment,
people's money
whatever.
unless they give it to you.
Everybody should have to
Willingly.
have to be in sales for some period of time. Engineers, customer service, operations, accounting should have to do it, because that's where the rubber meets the road, is actually getting a deal done, getting a signature, getting a check from a client. And you just cannot appreciate everything that's involved until you've been there on the front line doing it.
And been told no over and over again.
Over and
because
over again,
that's the reality of it, is if you're building a major pipeline, we call it a funnel, a pipeline, you're building a major base of customers that you're going to be selling into. Obviously, the vast majority of them don't buy. So you're building a very large pipeline. You're going to be told no 100 times, and you just have to be resilient. You got to be persistent, and that's underrated, or that's it can't be stated enough how important that is. And the driver of any business, no matter what business you're in. So I do think closing's
What's
important.
what's the sweet spot of hearing no and saying I'm not taking no for an answer, and not pushing it to be a jerk where they totally hate you? Like, well, how do you find that sweet spot? Or is that just instinct?
Well, so, everybody says getting a no is better than getting nothing, because then at least you have something to respond to. I was going to say, when we talk about closing, to me, the three most important things are the prep work. Like we talked about early on in the funnel, you've got to do your discovery. You got to ask the right questions. You got to understand the audience. That makes closing a lot easier. It's like any activity in life, whether it's, competitive sports or, the more you practice, or painting, the more you prep up front, the easier it's going to be on the back end. And
No, that was a great example.
I just
appreciate
that.
I just slap it out. I always love how you come up with examples. I don't know why I find that fascinating. Like when you're selling your like jellies and rolls, and then for business, you're like, your Afghan business. And
when you paint,
gone to paint a room with somebody?
But you stop. That's what it was. You're
Right.
like, whoa, painting. Like you had this arena.
I'm not even painting right
but
now.
think of the point he's bringing is that think of any sport, craft, anything, anybody that does the prep work is pretty damn good at what they do, right? And so it goes for sales too. If you're not doing the prep work ahead of time and you think you can wing it or you think you can make a call on the fly, there are some people that are just natural talents. They can do it, no question. But if you put the time in and you prep, I mean, you have a far higher percentage of closing a deal. So when we get to close, you have a lot more likely chance you're going to close. And I was just thinking, even in painting though. All right. So that was not a
painted a room with a guy like Brad who doesn't tape first.
Oh, you guys did
absolutely not. Why would you waste your time?
I didn't mean to stop you. That was a genuine laugh. Good. It's not the painting. It's you thought of it afterwards. You went, at painting. Like you stopped your sense there. Yes. So, but painting, like, right. Yeah. So go ahead.
And it's not like I'm even painting. So the three things, so you can keep us on track, will be, it's overcoming objections before you get to the close. Like if you're good, you've overcome the objections before you ever get to closing. And sometimes if you're really good, you don't even need to address them because the customer sold themselves. You've done such a good job of asking them the right questions that they don't have any objections. They're like, yeah, I have to do this. The second would be understanding the process to close, because every client has a different process. It could just be a husband and wife, or, well, I got to check with my wife before I buy. Or at a company, well, this has got to go through the procurement department. It's got to go through legal, or no, I can sign off on this, but I got to get budgetary approval. So you got to understand that before you get to closing. And then the third category we can talk about tonight is just that sense of urgency, even after you get the okay.
Verbal okay. Well, we can move forward.
We're good to go. Yeah, let's wrap this up. I've seen so many deals fall apart between there and when you're supposed to get the check and start going, because little things come up and you're complacent. Like, well, the deal's done. It's going to happen. It's going to work, and it doesn't. So we can go back to and start with, objection handling, I think is the key to closing, because everybody's going to have objections. They may come across as questions. They may come across as no, not interested. Because when somebody says no, you say, well, what is it? Is it the price? Is it the timing? Is it the quality? Is it the, because you want something to rebut.
Yeah.
But if you know your product and your potential customers in advance, you should know what all the objections are going to be, and you should have a playbook to address them. What is going to be, not only what is going to be my answer when they say it's too expensive or I don't have the budget, but you've already addressed that in a prior conversation when you were doing your discovery, when you were doing your initial presentation. And I'll tell you, so I've worked with a woman, I think I've brought her up before, Debbie Garrity from the Garrity Edge.
Yeah.
She's a consultant, helps with organizational development and work management and strategic planning and things like that. But she could do a masterclass on uncovering objections ahead of time in the discovery. And one of the ones I loved the best would always ask, what would be the impact if you do this? Like, reduce costs, you're going to improve revenue, blah, blah, blah. And then part two was, so how do you quantify something like that? How do you quantify the benefit of doing this project or going in this direction or making this decision? Because invariably, at the end, when the proposal would come across, you'd be like,
you need to restate that.
Yeah. You go, oh, wait, is it going to cost me $10,000 to do this project? It's like, well, yeah, but you said it was going to be worth $100,000 if you could accomplish this. Doesn't that seem like a small price to pay, or a small investment to make to get to $100,000? And, like I said, if you did it right, they'd feel stupid even asking that question.
Right, because it's already been asked and answered. and now restated
And
at
now
the time of
restated.
closing, which is really important. So, yeah, I agree. I agree with everything what Brian's saying. It's a lot of it is the prep in advance and ensuring that when you get to that point, there are no unanswered questions. And a lot of things I do is, and it's not just necessarily in a sale, but it's really in anything, is I'm always asking my team, and which just kind of relates back to sales, is what are all the things that can go wrong here? Let's prepare for
Prepare in
what
advance,
is, again, prepare. What are the things that are going to come up? Now, you were talking about preparing for the objections. What else will come up? What else will we say? There's nothing worse than being caught flat-footed, not knowing what to say, because it clearly shows that you really don't know your product. You don't really know your service.
Yeah.
You're bringing something up and you're pushing something on somebody that you don't really even necessarily know why they need it or why you're steering them in that direction. So I do think prep is everything. And a lot of people don't do it because a lot of people think I've got a great product, so I'm just going to run out and I'm going to sell it, and I'm going to gunshot to everybody out there. See if anybody will pick it up. And then at the same time is I don't even know what their needs are. I don't even know what their problems are. I don't even know if my product fulfills their issue. And so if you've done all that in advance, you have a lot higher percentage of closing. So I totally agree with that, Brian.
It's like when you hear people say, "Oh, who's your product for?" Oh, it's for everybody. Oh, it can't be
Yeah,
for everybody.
that's killer.
So are you prepping? When you say prep, it's probably both. Are you prepping, understanding the company you're selling to, or understanding your product and how it fits into what they do, or both?
Yeah, you have to do both. Understand where it fits, what the value is. The other thing that I would always ask up front, so it doesn't interfere with closing, is what are your top priorities for the year? Because if the solution I'm providing is not in their top 3 priorities, no matter how much they like it, closing is going to be difficult. So I've got to figure out a way to convey or position this that it aligns with one of their top priorities. Because otherwise what happens is you get to closing, they go, oh, it's too expensive. And then the rookie says, well, I'll just drop the price. What's it going to take to close the deal? I'll drop it by 1,000 or 10,000. And then you think that's going to close the deal. And they go, well, we've also got, we're doing this other project right now. So we'd have to wait until fall. You'll see rookies, if they didn't do a good job up front, the closing becomes like a revolving door. Or whack-a-mole, because they're just making excuses at that point. They're not even objections. They're excuses. And you keep thinking, well, if I address this one, they're going to close. Or you're telling your boss, yeah, I just got to get the price down $1,000. And then you do that and it doesn't close. Like, well, what happened?
It wasn't in the budget in the first place.
Right.
It was never a priority in the first place. So you are literally going into, it's a death spiral where now you've left nowhere to go. You're at the close, you present something that you think, okay, well, let's push over the finish line. And that didn't overcome the objection. And now you're basically sitting there going, okay, I just dropped my drawers. I gave them a price reduction of X and that still doesn't do it. You've got nowhere else to go. You're kind of done at that point. So to answer your
you think right away, dropping the price is a rookie mistake.
I think dropping your price is the absolute last resort. And if you resort to that early, you are leaving yourself with nowhere to go and could wind up with something that is like, wow, this was actually a higher percentage close opportunity, and I just blew it by doing that. Yeah. So you really have got to stay away from price point at closure. I mean, at that point, if you start talking about price point, then it's like, well,
it means you didn't convey your value prop.
Yep.
Because they don't see the cost being worth the value. So
I know you hate Dunkin' Donuts, but I saw something. I don't know the research, but
it's a little strong.
Strongly.
I mean, they still make donuts.
Yeah, they still make donuts. But they would discount at the end of the shift all their donuts, and then they found out people were just waiting till the end of the shift, and they said they devalued their product, so they stopped it. Because they said
and the other thing we got to think about here is if you're a business owner or you're an aspiring entrepreneur, it's not just selling a product, it's selling anything. Let's say you have an employee that's working for you and they want an increase in pay. That's a sales job. Yeah. I mean, let me explain to you why you can or cannot be paid that increase of X. I got to figure out why you want that. What is motivating you to do that? It's everything's a sale. Every conversation's a sale, and it requires thoughtful planning. And in some cases, it's like, I can't close at that amount. I can sign off on that deal. I can sign off on that raise. I can do it. But the reality is, if you literally resort right to price point, a reduction in price on something, if you go there, you're lost. You've already lost the deal. I think you've lost in the sense that you have basically showed your cards, you're done, and you didn't, to Brian's point, overcome objections early.
And would you, I don't mean to get in technique, would you say what are your top 3 needs, taking the gamble that they may not mention yours? Or do you say, isn't this one of your top 3 needs? Or is that leading them a little bit? Or
I would always ask, because,
is that risky? What if yours isn't in the top 3?
Then you walk away. You do your
so that's what the research is. You think going in, I know I'm hitting a need they have.
Yeah. Because if it's not, like I tell this story often. I think in my 5 or 6 years where I was actively selling VHT Studios in the beginning, there was only one company I ran into where I asked what their top priorities were. And after they told me, I said, it was nice meeting you. Let me save us both a lot of time. I'll come back next year. Because they were in the middle of a rebrand and they had just bought somebody and integrate. And it was obvious they weren't going to use our product or service, weren't going to have it budgeted. So he appreciated that. I went back, a year or 2 later. I don't remember if we ever got the deal, but I was going to add your thing of donuts. And the really smart kids know that after the store's closed, they throw the donuts away.
Yeah.
And so that's when they show up and they come home with a bag of 50 donuts.
Yeah. Is that why you're always hanging up back by the dumpsters, Brian?
But they were getting heat for throwing away donuts, and they said, look, we have to. If we don't, we're devaluing our product.
Yeah, what are we going to do? We got to destroy them. We can't let people eat them. So
that's good. Well, so part 1 was the prep.
Yeah, part 1's prep. I mean, part 2 is actually part of prep as well. It's understanding the process for closing. And
most people don't know who the buyer is.
Yeah, who's
a lot of times it's not as obvious as you think.
Who's got final
procurement department,
authority.
husband, wife. Like, it's okay to ask, do you make the buying decision, Matt? Are you the one that
will you sign the contract? Are you the one that's going
to Glenn Ross, right? Wasn't that the whole, his wife had to sign off on it?
It's not me, it's my wife. What is it?
I told you.
Tell me again.
What's going on here?
Tell me again, your wife.
I told you.
Tell me again.
Well, she wants her money back.
Yeah, but we're going to speak to her.
No, she told me right now.
We're going to speak to her, Jim.
No, she won't listen.
She
She said if I don't get my money back, I have to call a state's attorney.
No. This is something she said. We don't have to do that.
No. She told me I have to.
No, Jim.
Right?
That was the whole...
Well, people don't ask that question, though. They assume the person they're talking to is the one that actually is the one that's buying. In many cases, that's not the person buying. It's the you always hear about the gatekeeper to where the actual sale is being done. Somebody is vetting the actual sale for the person that's going to sign off on it. And that's why I asked her up front, well, Matt, are you the one that's going to be signing off on this? Are you the one that ultimately has signing authority? Will you be signing the contract? No, that's not me. It's actually this person. Okay, let's talk about what that person needs, what the company needs for you to feel comfortable to bring this to that person. That's where it gets stuck a lot.
I'll do even a more rookie mistake. I share the same name with our CFO. And I would get calls and people go into like a 5-minute pitch. And I let them go. Yeah, and I let them go. Right, because I let them go. They didn't even, and I go, yeah, wrong guy. I'm in client relations. I'm like, look, if you don't even ask, is this Matthew so-and-so? I'm not going to let him. I'm just writing, let him go. I mean, not even asking who it is.
We did a deal once with a big brokerage. I think it was down in Florida. I'll just use it as an example where they had, tons of business in Jacksonville and Orlando. And so we in Jacksonville was like the headquarters. And so we negotiated a deal. We thought we were going to get like 10,000 units a year or whatever. And like after we signed the contract, we got a call from the Orlando region saying they weren't participating. And we're like, what do you mean you're not participating? They're like, well, we weren't involved in any of the discussions. We're like, well, who the F were we talking to at the corporate office? Like, you were talking to the Eastern Regional Vice President. No one ever
Wow.
bothered to ask that question. Like, hey, is there anybody else involved in this decision-making process?
So it sounds like you're passing the buck that you didn't do it.
I didn't do that. No, I should have caught it
I mean,
at some point.
You probably should
know.
ask the question.
I
Are we
started
talking to the
asking
right-
that question a lot more afterwards. Like, are we sure
we got the
have
right
everybody
guy
involved
here?
in
So
this?
did that deal torpedo?
Oh well, we wound up just getting half of it.
So they
Half
didn't.
we
You
did.
couldn't. Did the other part need it? And
They,
just
may,
didn't
they
want-
eventually probably came around, you know.
But that set 'em
very
off because,
persistent.
yeah.
But it was that was very early in our existence, and it was the thing that made us from then on. Is this everybody? You know,
Yeah.
is there anybody else involved in the decision or the discussion? Because it always that's one of the things that always pops up at closing is, well, you know, we got to run this by Ralph. It's like, who the hell's Ralph? You know, his name hasn't come up in the 3 months we've been working.
Brian's cranky in front of all. Is there any other region? Anybody else? Why is he so mad?
Well,
Any
that's
other-
great that you're bringing it up, though, Brett, because that's something that people can learn that you figured it out the hard way. Like it sucked. You like half the deal.
Most of the lessons I've learned have been the hard way.
Well, no, right. You bumble through it. And you're like, God,
That's why we're doing this
podcast.
podcast.
It's not going to happen again. Every time I think of close, I think of Sonny Peterman that's out there. Sonny is one of the best biz dev sales guys, sales leaders, sales trainers, sales everything. He just bleeds sales. And he's always, every time I think of closing, I think when he says to me, he's like, yeah, and you go out the door, and he says, when you're leaving, you know, he always says, well, make sure that when the guy doesn't make a decision on the spot to sign the contract, he goes, well, make sure that when you call back, ask for the blue boy. And the guy will say, well, who's the blue boy? It'll be me holding my breath, waiting for you to call me back. Let's get this deal done right now. Let's sign right here in the dotted line. Just laugh all the time about the blue boy.
That's me, the guy holding the breath that doesn't get done.
Yeah,
That's
he's
good.
like, why don't we just get this done today? Let's go, close, sign on the dotted line.
So, as CEOs being flipped,
It's on the
why
other side.
don't you sign right away? Are you pushing off salespeople to get, like, when you're on the other end of it? They have a good point. Get it done right now, or you need more time.
It's funny you bring it up because I am a biz dev. I have a biz dev background. So I am, I got biz dev sales in my background. And I have to admit, I evaluate these guys as if I was them coming into my office and how they're pitching. And I always get a kick out of it. I tell my team, I'm like, this guy or this gal, like, let's give this guy a shot, because he actually did this right, and I said he hit all the boxes, he checked all the boxes, he found out everything he needed to, he came in prepared, he knows what he's doing. And it's one of those things that's like, we could use, we don't need it. It's kind of a, it's not like a necessity. It's on the fence. I'm like, let's give this guy the benefit of the doubt. Let's let him go to the finish line. And if this is something we can use, we can. And it's all based on, did he take us all the way through and address everything we need, or make us think of things we didn't know? Like, are you aware that if you don't do that, then this is the issue? And I'm like, that's a really good point. And then I always reflect afterwards, being on the other side of the fence, man. So I'm glad you said that. It's almost like I evaluate how they sell in, and are they addressing certain points for me, and do they know what they're talking about? So it is interesting being on the other side. I mean, did you experience that a lot where someone's pitching into you and you're like, I don't like your pitch?
I mean, the big divider for me was, did they actually
know the business?
ask me the right questions where I kind of uncovered the solution myself, because they knew enough about our business, what we were trying to accomplish, that I'm like, yeah, you know what, this makes sense. They didn't push. They didn't have to throw shit at me. It was just, hey, this is what you told me. Does this make sense? Be like, yeah. I mean, I think another big part of process is understanding, is this a competitive bid situation, or are you trying to convince somebody to use something that they haven't used before, and so you're the only one in there? Because that's another thing that's come up in our past. Salesperson tells me we got the deal, and then I find out, no, somebody else got it. I'd be like, okay, we've been working on this for 2 months. You never said there was another person involved. It's like, I didn't know. Like, did you ask? Like, just ask the questions.
Yeah.
You're not going to get dinged for saying, hey, is there anybody else competing for this business?
I think it's
Same mindset.
Ask the
question.
Ask questions. Ask who the signatory is. Who's the person that's going to sign off and approve this. Ask for the sale. It's most cases you're not asking, just ask.
Right.
You'll be amazed at how much info you'll get if you ask in a polite, professional way. Not in a, hey, I tried calling you, calling you, but like over and over again. It's like, right, you're asking the same things over again. But if you ask the questions and they're thoughtful, I think you'll be surprised at how much qualified and thoughtful response you'll get back.
All right, and the last one I really like, the complacency. The urgency, complacency.
Well, I'll throw out one more question. You should not be shy about asking: is how do you make decisions? What do you?
That should be part of your pitch.
Part of the
how
upfront
decisions
discovery
made.
is how are decisions made at this company? But A, what are they based on, and then tactically, how does that process play out? These are fair questions asked. We had one once where we were ready to close the deal, and they said, okay, now you just got to go through the security audit. It's like, what security audit? It's like, oh, we have a third party come in and test your systems to make sure they're secure. It's like,
is that Ralph? Maybe that was Ralph.
yeah, right.
Ralph's a madman.
So those are fair questions to ask up front. How do you make decisions? What does the process look like when you make decisions? Is there, multiple approvals? Is there a budgeting process? Is there a procurement committee? I think people are afraid to ask those questions because it's like, well, it's going to scare them off, or it's going to make me look bad, or like I'm trying to cheat the deal or whatever. It's like, no, I'm trying to make this easier for both of us.
And it makes it look like you're prepped, and it makes it look like you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And to be honest, if the customer is not willing to answer some of these questions, they're probably not willing to buy.
Right.
either.
That's your I'll see you next time. Yeah. Thing.
Yeah. It's like, okay, this isn't going to close.
I do want to, before we close on this, I don't know if it's closing, but I do want to give one helpful tip that always helped me throughout my sales career. And I would put it in between building your pipeline and closing. I would say that when I would meet with people, what I would say is, give me 15 minutes of your time to explain my product, my service, whatever it is. That's all I need is 15 minutes. Okay. At the 15-minute mark, regardless if that person was purchasing or not, whether that person wanted the next meeting or not, I would end the meeting at 15 minutes, right on the number. And I'd say, you've given me 15 minutes of your time. That's what I asked for. I appreciate your time. We can always resume this at another time. Now, obviously, I want the sale. Yeah. But I have showed the respect for that person's time. And let me tell you what winds up happening. So now I leave, and that's done. Okay. And that person will do one of two things. No. I'm interested in what you're saying. You can stay. Now I'm on their time.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Secondly, that person in their head says, Brad respected my time. And when he comes back in for another meeting, I already have it in my head that he's going to respect my time. I'm not going to have to take this pushy sales guy and get him to leave. He leaves without me asking. And so if there's one tip that I could share with anybody that's got to sell anything out there that has proven to be very successful for me throughout the years, is you ask for a very short period of time, and on the number you leave, and you do not let that go long unless they give you permission.
Unless they do think you're on their time.
You leave, and you'll be shocked at how many more second or follow-up meetings or closing meetings you'll have, because that person goes, he actually respected my time.
And when Brad says something, he means it.
And he means it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
that was always a pet peeve of mine. I agree with you 1,000% there. And I would get nauseous if I was in the room with one of our salespeople, and the client said we had a half an hour. And before the meeting, we said we have to get these two things in. And I'm looking at the clock, and we're 27 minutes in, and we haven't gotten to those two things yet because we're, talking about nonsense. And we're like, okay, we're going to run over, and we're not going to get these things answered because they're going to take another call, or they're going to get interrupted. And
if you stay an extra 30 minutes on me, you already don't respect my time. The likelihood of you coming in for another meeting is probably slim. I won't hear it. I mean, that's how I look at it. And so that's
really
my
good
tip.
one.
That's my tip for you that are out there. Anybody that's in business development sales, it was very, very
that'll have to be a new graphic.
Yeah,
effective.
Tip of the day. All right. Speaking of what we talk about, third one is complacency.
Well, I call it urgency.
Urgency.
You don't lose the urgency once the deal is agreed to, because time kills all deals. Not all deals, but it's the biggest killer of deals. I
was just going to say time heals all wounds. And
time
kills all deals.
That's a good. The longer it takes, the more things can go wrong. Deal doesn't get better, it's not like fine wine sitting in a can. Like it gets worse because more people get involved. People start asking questions. People get distracted with other stuff.
Maybe I don't really need this as much as I thought I
Yeah,
did. This is
so-
going to be too expensive. It's not
Somebody
in the
gets
budget.
sick.
I need to
Somebody
get
could leave the
involved.
company.
That
You're like,
happens
great.
all the time.
Yeah.
The most common one is, it gets to the red line. Like, okay, I'll let our attorneys just red line the agreement. And the salesperson just kind of checks out like, oh, I did my thing. And then one little thing in the red line sets somebody off. And then a business person gets involved. And then you call back like 3 weeks later, all friendly to check in on the status. And they go, dude, like there's a major freaking problem. Are you on top of this or not? It's like, wait, what? Well, your attorney wants to change the such and such. I mean, like, oh, cripe.
It's a sense of urgency, and it's also that you as the salesperson, you as the biz dev person, you are the shepherd all the way through, all the way to the point where they sign. You get that cross execution by your side, and now this is done. Now the fat lady's singing.
Whether you like it or not, they're going to think it's yours.
Because to Brian's point about the red lines is illegal. It's like, I don't want to deal with it. No, you have to drive the entire process through legal. You got to keep them moving, and you got to say, hey, do you really need to be focused on it? You got to be worried about that. You need to escalate to people. You need to get other people involved to make sure it keeps moving. If it gets stale at any point in time, your probability of close goes down exponentially. So
yeah, and if you have to, go back in person, because that's where I see a lot of these other things just kind of drift into oblivion. Is you exchange emails once a week, or you leave a voicemail. Like there's nothing better than going in person to convey a sense of urgency. Like, Jim, 3 weeks ago we agreed to do this deal. I'm here. Like, let's get it done. What do we need to do? Do I need to get my attorney in the room and your attorney in the room? We sit here until we sign it. Like, I want you to be able to start using my product or my service.
I asked you for 30 minutes to talk about closing today. We're right at 30 minutes. Do
Look at
you
that.
feel like we covered, Brian, everything that you feel like we needed to cover for closing?
Because we're not giving you another 30.
We did.
Yeah, we'll call
Well,
you
I'm
again.
glad because I said I would take 30 minutes of your time. We're going to wrap up right here, I think, and we appreciate it.
We appreciate your time.
Document.
And don't
Yeah,
forget,
sign the document. There is no document.
your
I don't have a pen.
your document is hitting the subscribe button. That is your document. Cheers. Have a great
Cheers.
weekend. See you next
Happy
time.
closing.
Happy closing. Always.
Always be closing.